Hello, boys and girls. Last week we read some animal safari books and we learned about some different animals. This week we're going to read about rhinoceroses. While we're reading about rhinoceroses, I want you to think about these questions. How many horns do rhinos have and what are they made of? Where do rhinos live? What do rhinos graze on? What is a group of rhinos that live together called? All of these questions will be answered in our story as we're reading. I'm going to click on some of these tools. I'm going to click on the paintbrush today, and I'm going to pick a color. And while we're reading, if I think I hear an important fact, I'm going to circle it with my paintbrush. Rhinoceroses. What are rhinoceroses? Rhinoceroses are one of the largest land mammals on Earth. They are also called rhinos. Rhinos have 1 or 2 horns on their heads. The horns are made of keratin. That sounds like something important because I remember one of the questions being, how many horns do rhinos have? This sentence right here tells us how many horns rhinos have. I remember another one of the questions being, what are the horns made of? And it tells us right here that their horns are made of something called keratin. Those are important facts. Where rhinos live. Rhinos live in savannas, forests, and swamps. That was another one of our questions. Where do rhinos live? And this story tells us rhinos live in savannas, forests, and swamps. So they live in 3 different places. I like how the story gives us pictures of these places too. They spend most of the day in the shade. They graze on plants and grasses. Ooh, I remember hearing that word graze. I'm going to pick my highlighter here so I can click on it. I remember hearing that word graze when we were asking the questions before we read. And the question wanted us to think about what they graze on. This sentence tells us they graze on plants and grasses. Most rhinos live alone. Some rhinos live in groups called crashes. That's cool because I never knew that before reading this story, that a group of rhinos they're called crashes. Fighting. Male rhinos fight over females. They use their horns to push and stab. Sometimes their horns break off. New horns grow to replace them. You can see here that it looks like the tip of this rhino's horn broke off. Female rhinos protect their calves. They make loud snorts to scare predators away. We heard that story in we heard that word in one of the stories we read last week, predators. A predator is something that wants to eat the rhinos. So the mama rhinos scare the predators away from the babies. Rhinos charge at predators that come too close. Get out of the way! I would not want a rhino to charge at me. That sharp horn would scare me, so I think it works and it makes them stay away. I want you to think back about the questions we had before we read this story. How many horns do rhinos have and what are they made of? Where do rhinos live? What do rhinos graze on? And what is a group of rhinos that live together called? We answered those questions together while we were reading. So I want you to talk with somebody in your family about those questions. Thanks.